welcome everyone to the Sigma Show, episode 107? 107. It's me, your host, Sigma. Just before I let you know who is joining me this week, real quick, we'll go over the topics we'll be discussing. And I say topics, but I really mean topic. And this is multi-layered because there's a very big court case going on right now. The first 2 days have concluded between the Microsoft versus FTC court proceedings. FTC is trying to levy an injunction against Microsoft to stop them from doing their acquisition of Activision Blizzard. That's a mouthful, but God, the amount of information that has dropped from just those first 2 days is staggering. And here to join me talking about these things are Rachel Kaiser.
Hi, everyone. I've missed you.
Marty Sleva.
Activision acquisition is a very hard thing to say.
Yeah, try that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
And Yokina Cat.
I've missed you too, Rachel. Hey, y'all.
I've missed you so much.
Welcome, everybody. Glad
it's
to
just
have
a big
you.
old love fest
love
here.
fest.
Isn't it always? Like the,
Always, yes.
That's one of the main reasons why I like doing the show week after week. It's because of the love.
I mean, I'm surrounded by just like the coolest people.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh.
I'm so
Why
glad
would
you
I
guys
not
don't know me
be-
in real life.
Oh my God, did you see Casey? Oh my God. Oh, hey.
But yeah, as we tend to do, we will start things off with what we've been playing, watching, doing. But since we also are coming off of a 2-week hiatus, and that 2 weeks happen to also have a ton of conferences, if there's anything from any of those conferences that you guys want to chime in about or kind of get off your chest, feel free. Throw that right in there. We will try to keep this section a reasonable amount of time because I do think there's a lot to talk about in the FTC Microsoft stuff. So, anybody feel like jumping in head first?
I can go
What you been
first.
playing? Well, you go
Heck
right ahead.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, just real quick for the what you've been watching stuff. I was excited to tell you, Casey, I have selected my favorite anime.
Really?
Ever?
Yeah. Yes. And I don't know if I've talked to you about this before, but I have decided that my favorite anime is School Babysitters.
No, I've definitely not heard you say
I've
this.
never
I've
heard
never
that
even
one.
heard.
Is that just
of that
Rugrats?
show.
It is. It's a cute slice of life anime that only has 1 season, and it's everything I want in a story, and it's made me feel things that a lot of movies and shows have not managed to before. So I was very keen on it when I discovered it.
Is it
Where-
very self-explanatory? Like, is it about school? Like a bunch of kids babysit a literal school?
No, it's set in a school,
Uh-huh.
and it follows this sibling pair, one sibling who's about 15 and one sibling who's a toddler, Ryuichi and Kotaro, respectively, and their parents die in a plane crash.
Oh no.
And they are taken in by the chairwoman of a local high school, who also has one of the programs at the school is that they have a daycare for the teachers. A daycare for the children of the teachers. So she tells Ryuichi that he can stay with her, and she will pay for his education, and she will take care of him and his brother if he agrees to work at her daycare when he's not in class. And so it's just this really, like, simultaneously really melancholy anime about these two, like, kids who have been through a lot. And it's one of the reasons I love it is that I feel like the whole, like, conveniently an orphan trope doesn't often get like seriously examined in a lot of media.
Mhm.
It's it's the Harry Potter thing of we want these characters to be orphans so that we don't have to worry about parents interfering when they go on adventures. But it's not often like seriously examined how damaging that is for somebody to lose their parents before they're an adult.
Mhm.
And so it kind of resonates with me a lot. And also I gotta say, the main character, the toddler characters, there are about 6 of them in School Babysitters, are the cutest things you have ever seen in your life. Like, I defy you to, like, maybe Nezuko, but other than that, I can't think of a single character in all of anime that
gotta look
I mean,
up.
granted, I'm not like an expert, but
I gotta
I
look up
can't
these
think.
babies.
You gotta see the babies. But I've not seen a single character in all of anime who is this cute. So yes, I have decided
Do you-
that
Where have you been?
These
Where
are
have
oh,
you been
yeah.
watching it?
babies.
my husband just handed me. This
Oh
is
my god, you
Kotoro.
already have a pillow.
Wow.
This is Kotoro.
Now I know what to get Rachel for like Christmas,
Yeah.
like what
Yes.
or something. Like,
Oh yeah, my
yeah.
husband jumped on that shit immediately on my last birthday.
Yeah,
So
that is adorable.
this is baby Kotoro. And he doesn't talk much, but he always refers to his big brother as Nichan. And so every time he walks up to his brother, he puts his little arms up and goes, Nichan.
Aw.
And it's just the cutest thing ever. Like every time I watch it, and I've watched it many times now, every time I watch it, it's like it just makes me so happy.
Where have you been watching? Is it on like Crunchyroll or Funimation or?
Yeah, Crunchyroll, and there are lots of clips on YouTube if you ever want to watch.
I might jump into that.
So-
You said it's one season. Is it a short, like a small number of episodes?
It's about 13 episodes,
13.
I believe.
Okay, yeah, that's bingeable.
Also, there's a background character. Well, not background, but there's a secondary character who is the butler of the chairwoman who takes in Ryuichi and Kotaro, and he's voiced by the same actor who voices Sebastian in Black Butler. So you're basically watching the most domestic version of Sebastian possible, and it's hilarious because the guy is constantly cracking these great jokes that nobody ever pays attention to.
That's what butlers are paid for, really. Is
Yeah.
all that shade.
And I felt bad because like I had really fallen in love with it right before I went to WeebCon, which is where I met a bunch of voice actors who do English dubs in anime, and I felt bad because I was about to say like I've discovered my favorite anime. It doesn't have an English dub.
Wait, was the convention actually called WeebCon?
WeebCon, yeah,
Incredible.
big thing here in Dallas.
Awesome.
WeebCon.
Weeb, like WEEB.
Yep.
That
Little
is
weebs.
hilarious, and I love it.
I love it. Kat, you got to come so we can go next year.
I know WeebCon. Let's go. Let's do it.
It's
Look, Casey, you're the engine for girls trips 2024. Like, let's go.
Am I invited to these girl trips? That sounds fun.
yeah, of course.
What if you accidentally book a trip to WeedCon? Like, this isn't what we thought it was.
That's also in Dallas, by the way. Yes.
Real quick, Frost in chat, what's up, Frost, says the Tigger movie dealt with the thoughtlessness of making characters orphans. Really?
Really? I don't think I watched the Tigger movie.
I mean, I didn't know
Oh.
Tigger had his own standalone movie.
High school.
I believe it's
Babysitter
called the Tigger movie. Yeah.
was much more pleasant than Promised Neverland. That's another story about orphans, and I think I want to go watch High School Babysitters. That seems a lot more pleasant. So.
I think the only other thing that I wanted to mention during the watch, I'm not going to talk about playing just because like I've been playing a lot of games because a lot of games just came out, so we'll be here a while. But watching, the only other thing I wanted to mention is I did see Across the Spider-Verse in theaters, so that was a lot of fun.
It is. I might go back, I think.
Did you see that story that came out that there's like slightly altered cuts? Like there's different cuts of the movie in theaters?
Which might explain why they had to overwork their animators for quite some time, which Sony, I don't want you to do that. Please don't do that. But I mean, if you ignore the conditions, and again, I work in the games industry, I've gotten very good at this. If you ignore the conditions under which the piece of art was created, then it's an excellent piece of work. I mean, that chase sequence 2/3 of the way through, that's just like, that's the big set piece of the movie, and I love it so much.
It is fantastic, yeah.
I have not seen it yet.
It's really good.
Well, I won't spoil, but I will say, like, I did, like, my husband doesn't care at all about this, but he was there but he basically, like, sat there while I went on this whole, like, thesis about, like, the psychology of, like, the big twist about 2/3 of the way of the second act.
All I was told was that Miles cannot trust, or he cannot really dap it up with Peter or Gwen again. Like that's what I've been. Well, that's according to Black Twitter, but like that's what I've been told. Like he cannot dap it up with Peter or Gwen ever again because they didn't ruin it for me. So I'm not much of a moviegoer, like a movie theater person.
That's a good way to put it because I think you will understand. You'll get that.
Yeah.
I mean, give it a couple more weeks; it'll probably be on Prime.
Yeah, hopefully.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're cool. You're cool. Yeah. I like I said, I'm not gonna like talk about the details. I don't want to spoil. It's still in theaters, so I don't want to be dropping the spoils. While there is a lot of potential that not just Kat, but a lot of people in the chat haven't seen it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm digging the new the refreshed character design as well, and like especially like of course focus camera, Spider-Punk, of course, my new favorite character. I think he's everybody's new favorite character.
Yeah.
He is
like
unbelievably cool.
So cool. Like there are lots of shows that tell you that a character is cool. Like that is a story that exudes like, no, that is what a cool character is. Like that's
absolutely.
They just nailed it.
I was like,
I'm just Daniel Kaluuya can do no wrong at this point in his career.
He absolutely cannot. He is. Well, I love that he's able to use his actual accent.
Yeah,
like not just in the sense of like
first time at anything.
Not just a British accent, a full on like
bruv,
like London accent. It's so good. Just like listening to him just full on be himself, like and lean into it like that accent. It is just love it.
Like that.
But yes,
that movie. Oh, I'm sorry to.
No, I'm saying that's just that was my last. That was the end of my part of it.
I just want to say like that movie has such an effect on people that someone who is like a very like loose acquaintance, like a person that I knew for a brief period of time in college, messaged me privately on Instagram to talk about Spider-Verse because they didn't have anyone else to talk about that movie with.
That's incredible.
Like, they just hit me up out of the blue. Yeah, they just hit me up out of the blue. Like, I didn't think anybody else would care about this, so I'm giving you my theories. I was like, you know what? Let's go into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and see it because I saw it with my husband, and I'm gonna go back and see it with my brother soon.
Yeah, I might go back with my fiance because she hasn't seen it. Like I took just my son the first time, and
also,
he saw it twice with another friend.
It's looking more and more like that third movie is not going to be ready for several years.
Yeah, sadly.
I understand.
Yeah, I understand too. It's just, it was very, for them to be like, it's coming in March. I'm like, is it? No one's recorded dialogue yet. That seems important.
Are you sure about that?
Are you sure?
Yeah, time will tell.
It's fine. Yeah, don't overwork them. Just let them work at 9 to 5. Take however long you need.
And we need to make sure we get 2 particular actors who were not in this movie because at least one of them was in rehab. So we need to make sure they're in. Yes, John Mulaney. I didn't want to spoil that his character wasn't in.
It was less who was in and me going through who was in rehab.
Oh right, that's right. It's like who
I was like taking a walk.
movie?
I was like, yeah.
But yeah.
Best wishes. Hopefully everyone comes out of
the
the
other side. He has a whole comedy special about it now.
See? Awkward silence.
He's got a kid with Olivia Munn. He's doing fine.
Yeah, he's winning. Okay. That wraps things up for you, Rachel.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Anybody else want to jump in? What you've been playing, watching, news from the past couple of weeks you want to jump into?
The 2 big things I've been watching. I saw Asteroid City in theaters, which I love, the new Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, that looks really interesting.
Thought it was great. Tonally, it's probably closest to Grand Budapest Hotel, which is probably my second or third favorite of his. So, incredible cast. Pretty much, it's one of those. If you like Wes Anderson, you're gonna like this. If you're not into his, I don't know, style or shtick, this probably isn't gonna win you over. But I think getting one of his movies every 3 or 4 years is an absolute joy, and I kind of love everything top to bottom, from Tenenbaums to Life Aquatic to Darjeeling Limited. Yeah, I think this one's great. Amazing performances.
Have you seen those things on TikTok? It's like when you're in a Wes Anderson film. It's like a trend going on.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Yeah, and some people are coming up with some pretty creative like stuff, and I think it's almost like when I look at it, I feel like it's almost like a compliment to Wes Anderson that he has such a unique like film style that it has a TikTok trend. Like I think that's really cool. So
yeah, he seems like he's almost one of the few directors, that has like an incredibly notable like thumbprint on all of his movies. Like
there was one about the guy playing basketball and the guy gets into a fight. Like it was. I'll have to send it to y'all. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Kat, feel free to send me any and all TikToks. I'm like addicted.
I do them sparingly, so don't worry. I won't spam y'all. But I thought it was pretty cool. I'm sorry, Mark. I thought that was pretty neat.
No, I didn't have any. I don't want to spoil anything for people because I know it's just came out in theaters, and I don't even think it's national yet. But yeah, that was good stuff. And then I watched the first 4 of 10 episodes of The Bear season 2 last night, which is great.
You're getting into it.
I'm getting into it. Yeah, I had to like stop myself. I was like, I'm gonna keep going. I'm like, you know what? They dropped it all at once, so let me just chill out. Yeah, if you watch season 1 and liked season 1 of The Bear, season 2 picks up right where it left off and is sort of about creating the new restaurant, the new idea for the restaurant.
I gotta ask, did that bug you a little bit that they were like, oh, here's a season 2? Because I felt like season 1 kind of ended very, like it ended. It was like,
Definitive.
okay,
Yeah.
like there was definitely a, okay, there can be more after this, but not something that you were, as a viewer, were meant to see, right? Like it felt like cut off.
The first season felt like we're not sure if we're going to get renewed. So if we don't, we are telling a complete story here. But then I think it was like kind of critically beloved, and I think Hulu was like, you know what, let's throw more money and have them do it again. So it didn't bug. It would have been fine to me as a 1-season thing, but seeing how they've handled season 2 so far, it doesn't bug me. If season 2 would have came back, it would have felt sort of like it was
like they didn't know where to go with it.
yeah, or spinning in place. Again, I haven't watched the whole thing, so maybe I'll feel differently by the end of it. But I also just really love those characters. Like spending time with those characters is great, and it's nice that sort of the first season of like table setting is over, so it kind of just jumps into the deep end. Assuming that you remember who the characters were, which isn't that tough. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't have to rewatch the first season in order to start.
I thought about it. I'm trying to be like, listen, like this might be a problem, so maybe you should stop. So I didn't do that.
All right, good stuff.
And then on the game front, I've just been banging through a lot more Final Fantasy 16, which I'm still really digging. It is, the deeper you get in, it is very much not a. If people are looking for like a big capital R, capital B, capital G, it is not an RPG. But it is a fun, bombastic action game with really solid writing and performances, and really just gorgeous, like cutscenes and set pieces and views and everything. And as that, I'm still really digging it. And then we mentioned the Nintendo Direct earlier. Maybe that was off camera, but I jumped into the first Pikmin game. So I want to replay the 3 Pikmin games before Pikmin 4, and I'm about to roll credits on Pikmin 1. I'd probably have rolled credits by now if we were not doing this. So this is your fault. I did not finish Pikmin 1.
It's all your fault, Casey.
This is all your fault. I didn't finish
Marty, this is an
2001's
intervention.
Pikmin.
You don't have to play 1 and 2 before you start 4. Okay.
I haven't played them in a while. I haven't played them in a while. Delightful games. It's like baby's first real-time strategy game. It's wonderful. And I'm baby because I don't know how to play real-time strategy games.
Have they released Pikmin 3? I know they released Pikmin 1 and 2.
Yeah, Pikmin 3, so it originally released on the Wii U, which no one played because of the Wii U, and then a few years ago they released Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
Shade.
No, I had the Wii U, and
it's just the truth.
Literal Wii U right there.
He slipped that in real slick too, like, oh yeah, because no one plays it. But anyway.
I got a bunch of old Wii titles as well that I play on that. So
listen, I played Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on the Wii U just recently, and let me tell you, that big piece of plastic is weird. It is weird, and I don't like holding it. But yeah, Pikmin 3 Deluxe released on Switch a few years ago, and it's great.
Okay,
like,
I was not aware of that.
If you're just gonna play one Pikmin game before Pikmin 4, just play Pikmin 3.
It's probably easiest to get to, and
it's gorgeous. And like, 1 definitely has a lot of finicky.
Hold on, how much is Pikmin 3 actually? Is that like full price still?
Probably. Yeah.
It's Nintendo, yeah.
Not if you use your Nintendo Fun Pass.
Oh, you mean if I buy an entirely different game along with it? Got it. Understood.
Yep.
Oh, it's $59.99. Oh, when it come out? 2004. Like, okay, like
yeah.
Hey, it didn't go up in price. That's good.
I can roll into a GameStop in town and go over to the Nintendo section, and they'll still have some Wii U games for full price.
Huh.
Yeah, I've seen that too. It's ridiculous.
I mean, he needs to take Nintendo to court next. Like, Nintendo, what's going on?
Come on now.
They swung back hard, though.
Yeah. They really
sorry,
did.
Kat, go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Kat. I
interrupted you. Saying those Nintendo fat cats. Mm-hmm. That's all that is.
Rolling around their money.
In their furry Mario suits.
I mean, this does kind of play into what we're going to talk about in a little bit, just because, I mean, they can afford to not lower their prices because there's no competition for Nintendo games.
No. It is so funny how again, we'll bring it up in the thing, how infrequently Nintendo is being brought up in this thing. And they're like, ooh, what if we just stay very quiet? No one will bring us up.
And when they are brought up, it's like, oh, well, is Nintendo really part of this because the Wii U is such an underpowered console? And I'm like, yes, they are part of this.
As the money just keeps being printed, they're like, no, we're definitely not part of this.
Nintendo is just like, don't look at little old us.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, truly.
Yeah. That's all my stuff.
Nice. Kat, anything you want to jump into?
Yeah, I am, as far as watching, I'm a creature, like I watch the same things over and over and over again, but I have been watching, I'm really into documentaries. This is on Amazon Prime. Does anyone remember that show on TLC called 12 and Counting? It was about the Duggar family.
Yep, I
Yeah,
remember.
and all the kids. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a documentary on Amazon Prime. I think it's 4 or 5 episodes. I binge watched it in one night. It's a documentary about the family. It's called Shiny Happy People, I think.
Yeah, I've seen
And
it.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
it is really, really good, and it's insane. Like I'm not
Mhm.
obviously a lot of that stuff is already public, so I won't ruin like the format of the documentary, but basically it talks about from like how the parents met to why they started having so many children, and then like how they basically kept like how their son like sexually assaulted like their two daughters and how it came out and how they try to cover it up. And then recently the son was actually charged with child pornography. The U.S. Attorney's Office arrested him back in, I think it was 2020 or 2019. They arrested him for child pornography, and I think they just sentenced him to like 12 years in prison. So like, and he's the oldest of the 20 because now they have 20 kids.
God
So
damn.
it's actually a really interesting documentary. Like, it's crazy what those parents like. I low key feel like they were in a cult. That's just my
Mhm.
opinion. But
They
watch it.
are a cult, yeah.
Yeah, like it's called The Shiny People. Like watch it, and it also has the point of view from like other people that were in that religious organization that knew the Duggar family. So it's actually pretty good. So that's what I watched. That's the most recent new thing that I watched, and then this just came out I think on Friday. It's called I'm a Virgo. I don't know if y'all have seen the advertisements for
The
that on
Boots
Amazon
Riley movie,
Prime.
the guy who did Sorry to Bother You.
Yes, he did. Sorry
Yeah.
to bother you. And it's about a 13-foot black kid who grows up in Oakland, and his parents try to keep him away from the world because they don't know if people are going to be receptive to him. But then he finally says, like, no, like I need to get out. So it's like a coming of age story, I guess, for a 13-foot black boy. And he's like super awkward, and he finds love and um navigates like really weird situations and things like that. So I think I'm gonna check that out because the preview looked really, really
Is
good.
this
So
this is a series or this is a movie?
yeah, it's on Amazon Prime.
Series
It's
on
called I'm a
Series.
Amazon.
Virgo.
Yeah. I believe it's
Okay.
all out. I think it's like a 6 or 7 part
Yeah,
series.
yeah, it's like I think 7 episodes. So
Mhm.
I was gonna start it last night, but I think I might start on that. So
Yeah, I might
playing,
I might need
I
to do
am
that.
now. It's not a big deal to a lot of people, but it is to me. I am now 12 ranks away from Tekken God. It's been a grind.
Hey.
I'm super,
Hey!
Hey,
super excited. And that's just Tekken. So there's 3 tiers of Tekken God. There's Tekken God Prime, and then Tekken God Omega, which is like the highest Tekken rank you can possibly get. So I just want to get to Tekken God. That's like my goal. But other than that,
Nice.
I've been playing. I'm still going into debt on Animal Crossing. Um, Tom the Crook Nook, man, he's
you need
always
to use some of those Tekken skills to beat the shit out of
I
Tom.
really do. Like I really do. I've been playing that, and then my friends tell me you need to play different games. You need to play different games. So I downloaded Gang Beasts on Friday, and I have not laughed so hard in such a long time. That game
Yeah,
is
it's funny.
ridiculous. Like
It is
there's
It's
silly
no
though.
hilarious.
physics or mechanics to that game. It's basically
Yeah.
it's basically a button mashing game, essentially. Like so
Until you meet someone who's like really good at doing weird shit like climbing walls and like drop
yes,
Like,
or
kicking
like
how do
going
you
people.
know
off
how to
the
do
side and
this?
you're all flaming and flammy, and I'm like,
Exactly.
oh my god, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
it's like finding a a person who's good at QWOP, and you're like, what are you
How do you,
doing
Like,
with
what is this
yourself?
skill
game is
set
it
you're
meant to
using?
be good at?
My friend was like, "Oh, it's ragdoll physics." I'm like, "I don't like this. I press a button. You told me I can punch with the bumper, right bumper, but then I press it, and then my character flings across the stage, and I don't know
Yeah, it's
what's
bad.
going on." So,
The controls are bad,
um,
but on purpose, and like everyone loves it.
Kind of works. Yeah.
and then other than that, just studying for law school
Yeah, get
exams.
it.
So, other than that,
Nice.
that's all I've been doing. I'm not good for podcasts, Casey.
What
So
nonsense?
you've been
Everything I
playing.
put on
No.
here is gonna be Tekken and Animal Crossing,
I
and
I love hearing about people who are good at Tekken, and I don't like hearing about Tekken by itself.
I will be interested to see how you do when to see your opinion when the new Tekken
oh,
drops.
I'm so like I'm gonna have to either get a PC or a PS5 because it's only coming out on like the most recent
Mhm.
console. So I don't know if that's a financial undertaking I want to take, but I might have to because obviously when Tekken 8 comes out, tournaments are not you probably won't really see Tekken 7 tournaments anymore. So um it's gonna definitely gonna have to be something that I guess invest in or buy because I really do want to start competing in actual Tekken tournaments. My goal is to eventually one day play at Evo, which is like I don't know if y'all are familiar with tournaments, but Evo is like the huge. It's
Mhm.
Street Fighter and Tekken and Dragon Ball Z Fighter, and it's just a
Used to be
huge
Smash Ultimate until
fighting
Nintendo
game,
said
yeah,
nah.
competition. So tournament. So my goal is to one day, at least make it to Evo as a competitor. So I'm gonna
I
have to
believe in you.
definitely
Hell yeah.
I went
invest in
to
it.
Yeah, I went to DreamHack recently, and that's the first time DreamHack Dallas. That's the first time I've seen live fighting game
Yeah,
tournaments, and
like
it's pretty impressive.
DreamHack, the Tekken, Evo, and then there's one called the Texas Showdown. That is actually another really big fighting tournament, like nationwide. And one of my favorite Tekken fighters, her name is Cuddlecore. She's she's ranked like I think fifth in the country of like top Tekken players. She's amazing. So I think she won Texas Showdown. So yep, but that's all that's going on in my neck of the woods. Back to you,
Nice.
Casey.
I wonder if Tekken's gonna come out this year. I feel like Tekken might be like,
I
listen,
mean,
we want to
yeah.
set this
Be
one
rough.
out from Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that
Street
might be
Fighter,
rough.
Mortal Kombat, it's got to compete with the two of them.
Yeah.
And
Although,
Mortal
funnily
Kombat,
enough,
I think it
yeah,
already came out. Mortal Kombat 1.
No,
no,
it's
they're
it's
doing
out in
a
September.
Oh, they're
stress
beta
test.
testing it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
stress
Yeah,
test.
they
Casey
did some
played
beta
it.
tests. Yeah, Street
Yeah,
Fighter came out.
like speaking of Mortal Kombat and fighting games in general, like I did get a code for the Mortal Kombat 1 stress test. I put about 2 hours into it last night. There's not a bunch in it because they are just testing the network, but they allow you to do like a very condensed combat tower, like your regular arcade mode where you just fight a bunch of people, and then there's online with no matchmaking or whatever, and there's 4 characters to choose from, and 3 cameo characters, which is the assist guys who are attached to you. As far as I can tell, at least in this demo, there's no way to not have a cameo fighter, so that might just be a core combat thing now. Like every fight might just be that, like you
Mortal
and a tag
Kombat.
team member. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually
So,
wearing my Mortal Kombat hoodie right now.
oh yeah, nice.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so Street Fighter, I don't know if you've been in the Discord, Sigma, but like that's
Mhm.
all they've been talking about in the FGC server.
Yeah.
I don't know, like it
Is
looks
it not
great.
clicking for you? Like, have you not tried it yet?
I haven't tried it yet, but I just never. After Street Fighter 4, I used to be all about Street Fighter.
Mhm.
Street Fighter Third Strike is my favorite fighting game of all time. But I don't know. I just haven't really been able to get into Street Fighter since 4. So maybe I'll give it a
If you're gonna try and get back, 6 is probably the one to get back into.
one.
Yeah, like that is the one that is very, very open to anyone who has lapsed or anyone who's brand new, in my opinion.
All I see is all the stuff about Cammy because apparently, like, they went hardcore on the Cammy fan service for Street Fighter 6.
Well, not even. They
Which is
just put her in the
really
outfit she was
bad.
always
Like,
in. Right?
say that
Like,
again?
they just put her in her old outfit, which is just with today's fidelity. Like, okay, yeah, I. But
That's a
honestly,
very
like, I
good-
really,
There's
I
how
really
she on
liked,
display.
I really liked her modern redesign. Like the way she looks in the new outfit is dope as hell. Like she got like the little jean jacket with the Union Jack on the back. Like she just looks really
Mhm.
cool.
She looks pretty hot.
Just don't go to Twitter because the people that are playing it on PC have modded her, and oh my god, it's freaking ridiculous. I'm sorry. Like Casey knows, and anyone who's watching, I cannot stand fan service in fighting games. It's my biggest pet peeve in fighting games. I can't stand it. As a woman, it irks my soul. So there we go. That's something new today that I brought to the podcast. I cannot stand fan service.
Fair enough.
Okay, I'm sorry, but that's all I have, Casey.
Yeah, no problem. I do hope you at some point get into Street Fighter 6 because I'm planning on it, and I need like very skilled, knowledgeable people to like help me like bridge that gap from like amateur to pro. Because like I took Kimberly, who I want to be my main in Street Fighter 6. Like she's like the graffiti ninja. And I did the placement matches and lost like 8 of 10 of them. So like it has ranks from rookie, several other ranks, and then master. I'm at rookie. I'm at the very beginning of this journey, and like I think when we do eventually do an escapist stream, the goal is going to be to get to whatever's before master, because master is like a very small percentage of the community. But like it's gonna be tough regardless. I think platinum is before master.
Yeah, Vansenal in the chat, if you go into the FGC server on Open Party, Vansenal just made platinum with Chun-Li. So
Yeah, and he's really freaking good.
He is like I'm a Tekken person. Like my main fighting game is Tekken. Vansenal's main game is Street Fighter.
Yeah, I know he's a
So,
Sagat
like,
player for a long
he might
time.
be the one to, because I'm gonna be right there with you. Like,
yeah, I'm trying to break into the scene. Like I'm gonna give it a good college try.
Oh, and I've been playing Monster Hunter. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I've been trying to branch out. I'm a super creature of habit, so I've been trying to branch out and play. I either play games that I try for the first time and I like them, and then I just continue playing them. Like I still play stuff on my GameCube and my PS Vita, and I have an emulated Xbox, first generation Xbox. Like I'll play like older games, but I really need to start playing like some of the newer stuff.
Do you? I mean, most of the new stuff is kind of just the old stuff back again anyway.
People
right?
just complain about the new stuff, so yeah, let's play the classics.
Yeah, play what you want. But still talking about fighting games, I don't want to sound like a hater or like I'm biased, but Mortal Kombat 1 feels so much like the previous Mortal Kombats, like the ones that have come just recently.
Looks like it too.
Yeah, like it has the same look, the feel, and like it's exceptionally high quality in terms of like its visuals, its presentation, like sound. All of that is fantastic. But underneath it is very samey. Like the addition of the cameo fighters doesn't really mix things up in a way that feels tangible. It's like, all right, this is still just more Mortal Kombat. And that's great for people who are like way into it. And trust me, there are people who are way into it. I was getting comboed to hell online. Like there was no matchmaking. There was no hope for me. Oh, Rachel, you're a big Mortal Kombat player?
I'm big in Mortal Kombat, yeah.
Really?
I mean, I'm not good at it. I'm not like Kat is good at Tekken.
Right.
But I'm into Mortal Kombat. It's kind of like my fighting game franchise.
Nice.
I think Mortal Kombat has one thing that in fighting games, I think that the one thing that we can all agree upon is fighting games usually have some of the weakest storylines when it comes to gaming. And
oftentimes, yeah.
I would probably say that Mortal Kombat, especially after 8 and 9, like starting around like 8 or 9, like they really started to develop, like in my opinion, Mortal Kombat has the best storyline out of any fighting game franchise.
I agree 100% actually.
Like I think I love Mortal Kombat 11 because it's like a 2-part Mortal Kombat 11 and then Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. I think it has such a great storyline. And as far as like how you said it, it really isn't anything different from like the most previous ones. I think that for Mortal Kombat that works, if that makes any sense. Like if it was any other fighting game, like if Street Fighter had done the same thing as before, I don't think people would have been as excited as they were about it. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm making any sense. But I think for Mortal Kombat, that formula just seems to work for them. They don't really have to change anything because their storyline is so, in my opinion, their storyline is like super intriguing to me. Like I don't actually follow, like I'm sure Rachel can agree with this. Like I follow the actual storyline for Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter, not too much. Tekken, I just do because obviously I've played that game for so long. I inadvertently follow the storyline. But like Mortal Kombat was one like I actually wanted to play the story mode of the game because I was actually interested in it. So
that is true. I'm very intrigued by like what the plot will be. But I will say like Mortal Kombat over its history has been a fighting game that hasn't been shy about like reinventing all of its fighting mechanics. Like it's gone through like some pretty big design iterations from like the original arcade ones to the early 3D ones, and then the like Deadly Alliance and Deception and whatnot. Like those did like a really cool stance switching thing. And then eventually they settled into this current style, like the Injustice style, where really bouncy, rubbery character models. I feel like, but it works for them, right? Like it does what they needed to do. So I don't know. I felt like with them doing another reboot after having just done a reboot, like this is like okay, we're retelling Mortal Kombat, but from everything's gonna be different now. Like it's we're starting from the beginning, but everything's different. I kind of expected there to be more of a change in like how things approached, but mechanically it just feels very samey. That's and it's really very tiny sliver that they let you play in the online test. So like I'm not judging off of just that. There might be a lot more in that game that we don't know about. But my early impressions are like this is very much the same Mortal Kombat we've been playing.
And a lot of people don't realize is that, or I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the gaming rating system was actually created because of Mortal Kombat.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, so like that's it's a
legend.
it's a pretty, I guess, monumental game, like video game history, I suppose. So
I mean, like there was that very big, like in the 80s, like court hearing where they were discussing like the corrupting influence of video games. There are two games they talked about. One was Night Trap. And one was Mortal Kombat. And of the two of them, Mortal Kombat was the one where they might have actually had like some juice, because you could understand you don't want an 8-year-old to play a game where he can literally rip somebody's head off with his spine dangling. But Night Trap was a weird one-off. But I only bring that up just because this is a fun piece of trivia. The then CEO of Nintendo of America said, "Oh, we never let Night Trap on a Nintendo platform. It has no place in our society." Night Trap was released on the Switch in 2017.
Nice.
That always makes me laugh.
I'm gonna research that now.
The society was ready in 2017. It was finally
for very bad FMV games about home invaders.
Those Wii U games, right? Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. And speaking of the story, I'm actually excited because I'm a Raiden main. So and Raiden's apparently gotten a complete overhaul in this, so I'm kind of excited.
I think
to see.
all the characters in that way are kind of very new. Like even like Liu Kang, who is a god now.
Yep. Johnny Cage looks exactly the same, but Johnny Cage is always the same.
Wow.
Wait, did you hear that I think they're getting Jean-Claude Van Damme to voice Johnny Cage in the game? They're
getting him to voice a skin.
Oh, a skin. Okay.
The main Johnny Cage is still voiced by Andrew Bowen.
Okay, I'm actually glad that that's the case.
Prime.
Because they did that before. Like they tried to have a celebrity voice a main cast character, like with Ronda Rousey and Sonya Blade. And
Jean-Claude Van Damme has actually done voice acting before, so I would.
But is he good at it?
I mean, I liked him in Kung Fu Panda.
Oh, he was in Kung Fu Panda.
He was, yeah. So, I mean, he's not bad. I don't know about having him play an entire character and do like 40 hours of voice lines, but
I wish they would have done like a DLC like they did Rambo. Like that would have been really cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Like just Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? Like Bloodsport Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah.
Say that again?
Like just have him, the actual actor.
Yeah, like his likeness. Like that would have been like really cool.
Like Nicolas Cage in Dead by Daylight.
But yeah, Ronda Rousey did not Ronda Rousey has no acting experience, so it's probably not really a surprise that she kind of. I mean, unless you count the Fast and Furious series, which
you shouldn't.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone else to say it.
Not as acting experience, no, but
no.
But yeah, so play some Mortal Kombat. Also messed with some demos that I wrote things up for over at The Escapist. Played Engard, which is a fun kind of spectacle fighter / beat 'em up. Like they only let you play like a tutorial and then like an arena. So I don't know how the main game's gonna handle it, but like it's like corridors and then fight rooms, right? But the corridors have like little bits of platforming, which are fun, but they are separate from each other. And I kind of wish they put those together. Like I would really like to use her platforming abilities to like move around an arena and like get to the other side of like where enemies aren't, because like they'll throw like a lot at you, and a lot of the fights require you to use the environment, like kick a table or a chair or barrels at people, like push people into other people, like position yourself, put things between you and the enemy. So like, but none of the stuff in that tutorial or that arena allowed me to do a lot of that. Like there's no like overhead attack if I were to climb up on a box and then jump down on somebody. So like that was a little disappointing. But I don't know, maybe there's that stuff you unlock down the road. Who knows? But it was fun overall. I really liked it. It's got a real Zorro aesthetic, and like that's just not a thing you see a ton of in games.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy to me that's not like a setting and vibe that's used more often.
Yeah, but it's a fun time. I definitely want to see more of that game when it's fully out. I can't think of anything else I really played, so I'll just move on to stuff I've been watching. And I watched a lot, but I'm not going to get into all of it. I will talk about the fact that I did watch and finish season 1, or the first season, the only season of American Born Chinese. That's it's a Disney series that's not based on a Marvel thing, as far as I know. Like, it's not tied into any of the MCU stuff, but it's the Chinese story Journey to the West, Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, demons in heaven and stuff like that. But like modern day, I think they're in the West Coast, whatever. It's like teenagers, high school drama, but also your best friend has become. It turns out your best friend is the mystical son of the Monkey King, and like there's this quest to like save heaven, and it's really wacky, but it also plays itself very low key. Like the main actor is this kid I've not seen before, this young Asian kid, and like his delivery is so understated, but like I like it a lot. Like you'll see like teenage kids in a lot of shows today, and like they just kind of have a ton of like I think and no shade to him, but I think of Tom Holland and how like he's just he has energy in him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like this kid seems like in the very next scene he's gonna go and take a nap. but like I like it so much because like it seems very authentic. Like this is just a high school kid, and like he's worried about these certain things, and he's stressed about his home life or whatever, and then weird stuff is happening around him, but he's not like losing his mind about it. He's very like, so wait, your dad is the king of heaven, and like I just really like it. I really like the vibe. There's great martial arts in it. The special effects are like, there's not a lot of them, but they're used well. And in some of the places where like the practical effects and like the makeup and stuff look a little goofy, that seems intentional because it's also riffing on like old kung fu movies. So like you'll see like the bad beards and like the bad wigs because that's like the style of like those older kung fu movies and stuff. There's even a full episode that is kind of an homage to old Chinese cinema. Like it plays the music, it has like the intro voice dialogue, and like it's like a flashback that takes place in heaven. So like you see stuff that's going on in the past, and like it's shot in this really fun, like goofy, old kung fu movie way. And like it was just really cool aesthetic. So like the first season wraps up, and it's all right. I would give it like an 8 or on a scale or whatnot. But they're definitely planning for there to be more. And I don't know. Like I feel like this is the sort of thing that if it goes on for too long, like it'll probably start to lose its appeal. But I did like season 1, and I'll watch a season 2 if it pops up.
It's also cool that Disney Plus is doing something that's just original and not
not
mining Star Wars
franchise.
Or Marvel. Yeah.
But honestly, like the way it's shot and feels like it could be.
Yeah,
it's not, but it 100% could be.
Yeah, it's also like serendipitous because it's not like it was put in production because of the success of Everything Everywhere All at Once, but like it did very much feel like, oh shit, like
that is how they cut that trailer. Like the trailer to advertise this looks like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah. And like a lot of those same actors show up, but like not in like critical roles in the way you would think.
Yeah.
But I liked it. And I think that's all. There's some other stuff I watched, but we can move on. We'll get into.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot to tell you, just because I mentioned it when Kat was talking, just that I went to DreamHack. I thought it might be fun to show you guys this. I got Jennifer Hale's autograph.
Oh, nice.
On a Bayonetta picture. And
you should frame that so it doesn't get...
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Since I've been starting to go to conventions more often because I have more disposable income now, so I've been getting a lot more autograph posters. But this one was really because y'all know how I feel about Bayonetta, so y'all know how important and special this was.
So Bayonetta and High School Babysitters. That is. If I send you anything from those two things, then we're good to go. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. My keychain literally has the Scarborough Fair pistol and a little thing of Kotaro on it. So yeah, that's my entire personality.
There are two wolves inside of all of us.
Yes. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. That wasn't even for the show. That for the podcast. That was just for I want to show you guys this cool thing I got.
That was great. I love it.
Awesome. So on that note, there's no real way to transition from that. So we're just going to go ahead and start up this FTC Microsoft conversation. If you don't know, the court proceedings have begun for FTC's plans to put a stop to Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. They had a lot of big names take the stand already, and a lot of news came out of the questioning because most of this is public. They did seal the room for one person in particular, like a financial person, as they were talking big bucks, and for whatever reason, we're not allowed to see that. Well, I guess maybe because that like can affect like stock prices or something, maybe.
Sure.
Man,
Yeah.
you should have told. I wish I would have seen that what we were going to talk about sooner, because I could have looked up, like, I could have tried to look up like court documents, because since it's public record, like you can look
Yeah.
that people can go and look that stuff up themselves. But I could have done that and had some juice. But okay, sorry.
So
Continue.
I sent everyone a link to the Verge's times table for all the coverage that they did. Tom Warner has been doing an excellent job of summing up everything that's been coming out of the courtroom. So shout outs to that man. And I'm just gonna scroll down to get a summary of day one, and because we can start there. But if any of you guys have anything in particular from day one that you want to just throw out there, feel free.
God, so much happened during day one.
A lot happened.
It's it's been a moment of all like a whole bunch of stuff. Let me see.
Yeah, and the I guess explain sort of what's going on. As far as what I understand is that Microsoft wanted to push this specific hearing through as quickly as possible because what it ultimately entails is the FTC is trying to pretty much buy themselves time to be able to do more research and create a larger case against Microsoft, whereas Microsoft sort of wants to catch them on their back, like backpedaling on their feet to be able to push this through before sort of more eyes get on it. It's also interesting that the CMA, which is like the UK regulatory, their whole thing was cloud gaming. Like that was the reason that they wanted to nix this, whereas cloud gaming seems like such a small portion of what's been discussed so far. Like cloud gaming has almost seemed negligible.
Well, they have talked about it. Well, I think the reason Microsoft wants to push this through is because if they don't close the deal by a certain point, they're going to have to basically start all over again.
They pay a fine, $3 billion, and they have to negotiate.
That is a very big fine.
It's a big fine. That's and especially considering they're probably going to have to up the price again if they renegotiate with Activision.
Yeah.
No longer $69 billion.
They can make it a smooth 70.
I think the biggest thing that I want to talk about is just that they dropped that Jim Ryan email, like right there at the beginning. Like when they released that, I was just like, "Whoa, okay, we're pulling out the big guns here." Like I live for corporate pettiness and legal proceedings. Like it's my deal. But when they pulled that email out from Jim Ryan, where he basically undercut the entire anti-acquisition argument that Sony has been trying to make for the past almost 2 years now. That really got me. That was the big bombshell for me on day one.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know like the details of this email she's referring to, apparently early on when this was announced that Microsoft was trying to make this acquisition, Jim Ryan wrote an email to Sony investors, something like that, essentially saying they don't believe that Jim Ryan himself does not believe that Microsoft's acquisition is aimed at exclusivity in particular, that they think Microsoft is aiming higher than that, and that even if it were aimed at exclusivity, that Sony would be okay. They'd be more than okay if Microsoft were to go through with that acquisition. So like this was Jim Ryan trying to reassure and probably stave off some panic from investors, I'm sure. But to get that on a document that shows up in a court case where the entirety of their argument has essentially been Microsoft can't do this because it'll hurt us competitively, that's literally him in a document saying the opposite.
Yeah.
And Lampy, Jim Ryan's the head of PlayStation. He's like the Phil Spencer of PlayStation. He's the president and CEO, I think, of PlayStation or Sony Interactive Entertainment. Yeah.
Well, he's head of PlayStation. Sony Interactive Entertainment is someone else, I believe, but I'll double check. I could be wrong. No, it's Jim Ryan. Sorry, you're right. I'm thinking of somebody different.
Lampy says, presume I know no one when you say their name. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's funny because like it feels like the for each I don't want to say witness. I don't know what the for each
No,
person they've brought on.
I think it is still a witness.
Yeah, for each
Yep.
person they've brought on stand, it's the questions have been very much clearly focused at what their sort of area of expertise was. So when they brought, I think they brought Matt Booty, who's the head of Xbox Game Studios, and they were asking him a lot about exclusivity, like related to ZeniMax games, and so they were talking about how kind of prior to Microsoft acquiring ZeniMax and Bethesda, the rumor had it that a game like Starfield was going to be an exclusive to PlayStation and PC, at least for a time being, much like how Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo,
Yep.
It was following
launched.
that pattern, it seemed.
Yeah, and so like it seemed like part of the case that Microsoft has is like we are just doing what our competitor has been doing with things like the Spider-Man game, and that's why our Indiana Jones game is now going to be an Xbox and PC exclusive. So yeah, it seems like part of it is them saying no, things aren't going to change, while part of it is also Microsoft saying, well, they're doing it too, so why are we getting in trouble for business practices that all of us are doing?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Casey.
No, I want to say, like, especially since like the line of questioning keeps putting them in this position of like, why are you trying to make things exclusive? When yes, Sony is the one making almost everything exclusive. So yeah, like it makes sense for them to point at Sony in this case, as opposed to saying like, well, they're doing it too. But it's like that's why Microsoft is doing it. Like if you follow the track, if this is true, what they're saying, then essentially Sony is the reason Microsoft has gone on this spree. Like, because it started with like they were already doing acquisitions, but like the Bethesda one was massive. And that still didn't help them get where they wanted to go. So it was like, we got to go even bigger. You get Activision. That was Sony's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I've noticed that there's a shift here.
Mm-hmm.
There's been, because up until now, Microsoft has kind of been, and Xbox have kind of been positioning themselves as like, oh, look a little us. We're so behind in the console race. We just want to catch up. That's why we're shelling out $69 billion to buy one of the biggest game manufacturers on the planet. And again, I just first of all, I just want to say, like, everyone please, like, just like try not to just like arbitrarily side with one corporation. We're talking about corporations. They suck.
Sure.
Don't
Yeah,
side with
sure.
them. But I will say that up until now, Microsoft, Xbox have been kind of doing this whole like wallflower act of like, we just want to catch up. We're so far behind. We're losing the console race. Oh, don't look at us. And I to kind of contrast, like to put itself in contrast with Sony's whole like, yes, we have PlayStation and we are, ahead in the console race. Just try to make PlayStation look bad. They've completely switched here. Well, not completely. There are still some echoes of that. Now they're going on the offensive because this whole thing, when Sony has been part of this whole thing, they've been doing this whole like, oh, you can't let them do that. They'll take Call of Duty away from us. So there has been this sense this entire time of people going, Sony, why are you getting involved? This is between Xbox, Microsoft, and the FTC and the regulatory bodies. Why are you getting involved? Why are you talking so much? And legally speaking, it's because they are the competition.
Mm-hmm.
But there is still this sense of like, the FTC is maybe drinking Sony's Kool-Aid a little bit too much. So now Microsoft has like changed their strategy to be like, don't listen to Sony because Sony is just as bad. So that's the big thing that I'm taking away from this is that they're trying to flip it on Sony.
Like the majority of the FTC's questioning for pretty much all of the different witnesses that they brought up are Sony talking points. Like the information that the FTC has are this, and the thing is, it's bad information because Sony has a vested interest in just blocking this for not for the sake of consumers, but for the sake of themselves. So every time the FTC comes up with one of these talking points, like whoever's on the stand, especially Sarah Bond, who was up there, had tons and tons of comebacks that just sounded logical and sensible in the face of like this questioning. And like it's weird because you brought it up earlier, Rachel, that they're like, all right, this particular case, like this injunction is just a stalling maneuver because they want to go and get more information. Why did they do that in the first place? Like, did they literally just wholesale take information from Sony's and Sony's attorneys and say like, all right, well we'll use this for our case because you guys probably know what you're talking about?
Well, and you get the vibes here that anytime any sort of technology gets brought up in front of Congress or grand jury or anything like that, you always get the feeling that these 75-year-old fucking congressmen and women don't know what they're talking about. And you get the same feeling from the FTC, in my opinion. Like anytime like Mark Zuckerberg or anytime TikTok is discussed in these settings, you get the feeling these people don't understand this world and their questions are so fucking dumb and uninformed. And I'm getting a lot of that same thing here. And it is mind-boggling that I'm like, how do you not have people that either know this or are going to be like, all right, I'm going to spend months deep diving into this and I'm going to become an expert before this occurs.
I just want to say, I think this would be a much different event. Do you guys remember like any of the Apple versus Epic legal proceedings?
Yes.
Judge Rogers, she's the GOAT. So she's like on it. She like knew exactly what they were talking about. She like every time Epic or Apple's lawyers tried to like get in with like some weird jargon like to try and confuse her, she knew exactly what they were doing. She took them down. She broke it down in simple terms. I love Judge Rogers. She's my hero. So if she could be part of this whole thing, I feel like this whole event would be much different. Because she knew what she was talking about when she spoke with people in the games industry.
Like agreed. I don't know who the judge is presiding over this, but I do know
it's Judge Judy.
No, Judge Judy, please. If Judge Judy was part of this, it'd be over.
But it did seem, at least for now, like the FTC's line of questioning was beginning to annoy the judge. Like there was an instance where the judge was kind of cutting the FTC's questioning off because like they were, for whatever reason, trying to get Phil Spencer to say under oath that he would sign a deal to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation or whatnot, even though it was PlayStation who refused the deal that they offered them. But like that seems strange. Like what is this about? If you're in court trying to get them to swear that they'll do deals with a rival company. Like, I mean, does that track in terms of like the FTC's job as a consumer focused group, that they would say like, well, make sure your rivals eat good too?
I mean, I feel like I've talked a lot, so.
I mean, if you have input, go right ahead.
Yeah, no, you're informed.
I will say that it is the FTC's job to try to represent the consumer, to say like, are you going to do something that is going to deprive a consumer that has historically had access to a certain resource? Are you going to deprive them if you're controlling the spout of that resource? So it is a valid question, but I think Call of Duty is not the right resource to ask about. I think there's been a little too much focus on Call of Duty in these proceedings. And I think the judges, well, not judges, I think the people questioning Phil Spencer and all of them, I think they are a little bit, again, like you said, they're using a Sony talking point. And again, I think that that email kind of proved Sony doesn't actually care that much. They're pretty sure that they're not going to lose Call of Duty. But yeah, it's a sort of, well, and also getting Phil Spencer to say that under oath. I think they're also trying to leverage that into getting him to promise more things under oath. So I think there's still 3 more days of questioning. I think that have to happen. So I think there's going to be more of this further down the line.
And everyone's best bud, Bobby Kotick, is coming.
Oh God, Bobby. Don't let him talk, please.
Is it true that because I felt like I saw this somewhere on the internet, so I can't verify its validity at all. But is it true that if you were to make a statement like that, sworn under oath, that doesn't hold up? Like you can't necessarily form a contract under oath if like an attorney gets you to say, "Oh, promise you'll do this thing," and it's like, "Yeah, I'll do that." Like that can't be pulled up. It
seems like there'd be a lot of stipulations out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, saying something under oath is not the same thing as creating a contract. It's not. It's not in and of itself a contract. I think that's what they mean. But it is a good way for them. But him saying under oath that he would be open to it, that he is willing to do that, that can be part of negotiations for contracts.
Well, he was like, give me a Bible, give me whatever I need, and I'll swear that, like, I'll swear on my children that Call of Duty will still come to PlayStation.
And in the case that he goes against that, like he was under oath in this court case, and later down the line they're like, all right, well now it's whatever we want it to do. He couldn't say be tried for perjury, right?
No, Sony gets his kids. Sony gets legal custody of his children.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so that part I actually don't know about. So I don't know.
I mean, Kat,
you're studying.
Yeah, Kat, I want to get your thoughts on this.
I am studying for my law exams, and I'm a legal assistant. So I cannot give you any type of legal advice or
not legal advice. Just I want to hear your opinion.
Yeah.
From my understanding, like, if I were to say something under oath, it's obviously to tell the truth. Like, for example, if it's a murder case or a gun trial or whatever, and I say, hey, Ms. Cromwell, did you see defendant A with gun C? And I say, no, I didn't. But then they find out that I, in fact, gave gun C to defendant A. Obviously, that's perjury, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
I could go to jail for that. But as far as this, I deal more as a legal assistant. I deal more with like criminal stuff, not this is considered, from my understanding, this is business. This is corporate law, which I cannot stand corporate law. I mean, I have a little bit of history. I have a little bit of knowledge about corporate law. So when it comes to stuff like that, I really don't know. Like that's a little different. Like, if I were to say, like you said, if Phil Spencer says absolutely Call of Duty is going to stay on PlayStation, and then 6 months later he goes, fuck that, excuse my language, we're not going to PlayStation. Like Marty said, they get their kids in the house and the go. So it's like,
I think, yeah.
Well,
I wouldn't know, Rachel, but I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to ask some of the attorneys that I work with, like, what is, like, is that like you're under oath? So is that like binding when it comes to like negotiations? Like, obviously it's not a contract itself, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but like if you were to say like, absolutely, it's definitely going to stay on PlayStation, and then like you said, 6 months later down the road they decide no, Call of Duty goes straight to Xbox. Is that something that he could be sued for? Under oath, you said that it was going to stay, and now it's not. So I'm going to ask that question.
Yeah, with my limited legal knowledge, I will say I think what would happen is that he could be sued for damages for like lost revenue for not putting PlayStation, because he said, Call of Duty's coming to PlayStation. Call of Duty doesn't come to PlayStation. You can sue for irreparable damage, for financial losses, but they would have to prove that when he said that under oath, that he already didn't have any intention of bringing Call of Duty to PlayStation. All he has to do is prove that he was telling the truth at the time.
See, that's the thing Lampy and Deebs are talking about, is it's a way different scenario than talking about a past event and being like, oh, I wasn't there on that night, and then they prove, yes, you were. Like that. That was a lie. Whereas, talking about the future is a way, and like Rachel said, if your intention at the moment was one thing and then it changed over time, you technically weren't lying.
Yeah,
fair enough.
It's not.
I just find it very interesting.
Phil Spencer would be like, hell, it's not going to go to PlayStation.
Whatever I have to say to get me out of this room.
In his head, absolutely. In his head, hell no, it's not going to PlayStation. What you talking about? Okay.
Well, what worries me is that they they're setting up this whole thing of like, yes, of course we're not going to have too many exclusives from PlayStation or what, but they did actually also, and credit to Xbox, because this is a point that I would not have thought to bring up. But they pointed out that sometimes a lot of their games can't come to PlayStation because Sony doesn't send them dev kits. Like they said, that's why Minecraft doesn't have a PS5 version, because Sony doesn't send them PS5 dev kits. And that's a great point. It's just that if Sony wants to, they can just straight up reject Microsoft or Xbox owned games on their platform, despite Xbox's best efforts, which I do think that they're not necessarily going to do that because they like money and they want to keep the money coming in. But if they want to be petty, if they want to put Microsoft in that position, they can, and they have.
Yeah, Phil Spencer brought this up a number of times. The fact that Sony pays third parties to keep stuff off their platform, and I felt like there was just no response to that. Like that was just he threw it out into the court a number of times, and FTC just kind of was like, whatever to that information.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no talk back. But like, that is distinct anti-competitive behavior. Like, that's the sort of thing that I think Sony could be sued over, and that the FTC should look into, right? So like, what are the odds that with all the information coming out of this, there is a new antitrust case brought up by the FTC against Sony, and maybe at some point even against Nintendo, should things start to lean in their direction, because Nintendo does a lot of the same anti-competitive practices.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sigma.
No, that's pretty much the end of the question there.
So I kind of feel like going back to, if I can go back to kind of what Rachel was talking about how the Federal Trade Commission they're supposed to look out for the little guy, right? Like, you know,
Supposed to.
they're supposed to, right? So I kind of feel like, I think it's, and this is just me, I think it's really odd. Like, I kind of feel like Sony's telling on themselves, because like what Rachel said, like, this really had nothing to do with them, like, at all. So they're kind of like inserting themselves in a situation where if you insert yourself, then all your dirty laundry is going to come into play, correct? So like, I kind of feel like if they don't, for like, I think it was like when I was reading through one of the things, it says, I guess Phil Spencer talked about that on the second day of questioning, where he was like, they're paying people to avoid like Xbox consoles, or like what you said, like it was on the second day of testimony. Like, for that to be said in court under oath, like, as a Federal Trade Commission, I'd be like, we should probably look into that. Like, isn't that exactly what you're trying to keep, like, Xbox from doing?
Yeah,
and
you're trying to protect the consumers.
That
Seems
seems
like
hey, that's what PlayStation is already doing. If they don't look into this somewhat, that's going to be extremely suspicious to me. Which means, like, is Federal Trade Commission looking out for Sony more so Xbox, or, you know, Microsoft, or whatever it may be? So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rachel.
No, sorry. I just was. I think I just had a contemplative look because I had a thought related to what you were saying, but I don't want to interrupt you.
That's pretty much it. Like, I would think for me, it would be very suspicious for all this stuff about Sony coming out during these days of these proceedings. It would be really weird. It would be really odd to me if the FTC didn't bring something against them, or at least investigate it, because that just seems a little sus to me.
Well, I do think that there is a difference between paying a company that you don't own to have their game be exclusive on the platform and buying the company itself. There is a difference between that. And again, I don't want to play devil's advocate too much because, again, federal government and corporations, like, they're two peas in a pod here. But just to like see it from the FTC side, those aren't necessarily it's not the same level of like that's not necessarily anti-competitive, I think, because in theory Microsoft could just turn around and do the exact same thing. It could reach out to the exact same third-party companies and say, hey, make this game, and they have when they do like Game Pass deals. They say like, hey, come over to our platform, we'll pay you a crap ton of money, and you know, you either will not release it on PlayStation or you'll release it late, or heck, just put it on Game Pass where the pricing is much more like consumer friendly than you pay like $16 a month, or I guess it's $17 now for Game Pass Ultimate, get all these games, or you pay $60 on PlayStation for one game. That's kind of the whole like deal they're going with here. It's like, so Sony paying other companies to put their games exclusively on PlayStation isn't necessarily the same thing as Xbox wanting to purchase Activision Blizzard. So I can see why Phil brought that up, because his exact words were, PlayStation uses the money they make off of Xbox games on PS5 to pay for other games to block on the Xbox platform. He's talking about how they offer their games to like the games that they make on PlayStation platforms, and Sony just turns right around and uses that money to like purchase exclusivity.
Right.
And I see the point he's making, but I also I wouldn't necessarily say that them paying to have exclusive games on their platform is anti-competitive in the same way. But I do agree with you that Sony is really like opening itself up here, because I don't know if anyone remembers this, but Microsoft filed to have all of Xbox's emails to be able to have access to all of that, and Sony was like, "No, don't do that. That's invading our privacy. That's harassment. That's bullying."
Of course.
And I'm like, "Honey, you put your damn foot in this hokey pokey ring.
Yeah.
Get in there and shake it all about."
And they were talking about, I guess, like Sony has like this, it's like the top like 6 people in their like corporation. They have like an actual nickname for them. I don't remember what it is, but apparently they were asking for emails from certain people that held certain positions at Sony. And Sony was like, "Oh, they don't work here anymore," or "Oh, that's not relevant," or like, "No, like you decided to insert yourself into this whole thing with Activision and Microsoft. So if you want to come, you got to come. You got to bring all of it." So I thought that was pretty interesting. That they, what do you have to hide? In my opinion, like, what do you have to hide? What we're requesting for, what are they going to tell us?
Yeah. I mean, I think this also is another win in the "don't put things down on paper" column. Like, this is like there's like a gif that goes around from The Wire of Idris Elba's character like grabbing a notebook from someone and tearing it in half and being like, "Don't write anything down," because you even have like dirty laundry being aired internally at Microsoft with Pete Hines, who's the head of Bethesda Publishing, when at that time already acquired by Microsoft, they made Starfield an Xbox exclusive, which Bethesda didn't really want. Like, they want as many people to play their games as possible. And then when he found out about the possible Activision acquisition and Microsoft being like, no, Call of Duty will be everywhere, he sent out a blast like, what the fuck? Why do they get this special treatment and why don't we? Like, why aren't our games everywhere? Like, why are fewer people going to play Starfield because of our deal than Call of Duty, which is going to be everywhere? And I'm like, ooh, that's dirty laundry that people probably don't want aired out.
Drama.
Yeah. But again, same thing I just said to Sony. You go into court and you got to be prepared to have everything exposed.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and there's even little details coming out of like the projected launch of the next gen consoles in 2028, which is pretty understandable. Like an 8-year console cycle, that's 7-8 years is pretty normal now.
Yeah, I think that's the hope, right? Like if things start to dip before that, I think they'll probably put a rush on getting out new hardware.
Yeah, and again, the pandemic being the first 3 years of the cycle,
that definitely
throws a wrench into things. Yeah,
I did want to. I wanted to go back a little bit to the difference between buying exclusivity and then paying to keep games off another platform, because like I feel like Phil said something specific. He didn't say Sony takes the money they make from the games they put on their platform and makes exclusive deals. They said they pay to keep things off our platform. So I'm curious, is there a difference? Like is that just a flowery way of saying the same thing?
I think it is. I think if I acquire something specifically to have it on my platform, and this is just me, like if I'm paying, for example, if I'm paying to keep something specifically on my system, but then my competitor is paying someone to not have it on mine, I feel like it's the same thing. You're just saying it differently. But
it seems like a semantics thing. Right?
Yeah, that's just how I look at it. Like we're saying the same thing, we're doing the same thing, we're just our way of getting there is different. Does that make sense?
It feels like a glass half full, glass half empty thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Either make something for us or don't make something for them. Ultimately, it's the same.
Yeah, I think so.
Result.
But let's say that's written down on paper, right? Let's not that it is, but let's say there are deals flying left and right, and Sony's like, hey, we want you to make this game exclusive to our platform. But then Sony sends to this other group, hey, we want you to make sure this game never comes to Xbox. Like, I feel like, yes, you're getting the same result, but there's something insidious about that second one, right? Like that seems like you're not doing something for your company, you're doing something to hurt your rival. And I think that matters a little bit.
But isn't it an implication in make something for us is you're also not making this for someone else? Like,
it is. It's definitely implied.
It's just the quiet part loud, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, is it, well, are we assuming that this is Sony talking to both of them are third-party companies? Like Sony doesn't own either company outright?
This would all be third-party stuff. Because I feel like this is what triggered Xbox to act in their way. They're like, all right, well, if Sony, it's almost as if Sony somehow was getting to a lot of these companies before either Xbox could or Xbox, for whatever reason, hadn't considered it. They're like, no, Bethesda makes games for everybody. Like, why would we approach them for a thing? But Sony did. Sony went and got Arcane to do all these exclusive things. So they were like, all right, they've already made these sorts of deals. Let's just buy the whole company, because that was their recourse at that point.
I mean, I think it was Microsoft looking, okay, you did it with Redfall and Deathloop, which are not the biggest games, they were planning to do it with Starfield, which is a very big game, and then extrapolate that 5 years down the road, they would probably plan to do it with Elder Scrolls 6, which is going to be the biggest game. And so
that long.
Is that something
That's
Bethesda?
12 more Skyrim releases.
Did you see the timetable thing of if it comes out in 2028, that would be 17 years after Skyrim, and it was 17 years between Elder Scrolls 1 and 5. So, like, in the first 17 years, they made 5 Elder Scrolls games, and then in theory, in the next 17 years, they will make one. It's not like the game's been in development for that long, but yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry, just the thought of, like, that gap and, like, okay, how many times are we going to re-release Skyrim?
Many.
As many.
Many.
I mean, we don't really have places to put it, right?
Oh, we'll find them.
Like,
We'll
I guess a
find them.
mobile version, Skyrim on your phone, yeah.
Yeah,
They
sorry.
don't do that already?
Give me just a moment. Howard!
Lampy also agreeing in chat that the difference between those two turns of phrases are just semantics. This case example is really 6 and 2 3s. He says the issue here is buying up the company so you can mandate it and take away their ability to reject the deal.
It's true, yeah.
Sure.
I do think there's, like, a little bit of, like, if I can go, like, into a little bit of history here, I think part of the problem is that when Microsoft has been buying exclusives, or not buying exclusives, but, like, buying companies for a while with the intent of them making games for Xbox, it just hasn't really panned out in the same way it has for Sony. Like, for example, Sony acquires Insomniac. They make Spider-Man games, and they're a great big hit. Sony acquires, Xbox acquires Double Fine, for example, and they proceed to do, like, take a very long time to make Psychonauts 2.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to, like, illustrate, like, there's a difference here in, like, the way the two companies have managed that thus far, and so now it sometimes feels like Xbox is just like, okay, like, we're kind of failing at, like, taking, like, small studios, buying them up, and having them make boutique products for Xbox. So let's just buy a really, really big prefab company that already has a history of hit making. And they did it with Bethesda, and now they're trying to do it with Activision Blizzard. And again, and I bring this up because I don't want to sound like I'm advocating for one company over the other, but that really sounds like a failure on Xbox's part. I mean, like, Kat, you said, like, Sony's kind of telling on themselves, but I feel like Xbox is kind of telling on themselves too. It feels like they're basically admitting. Yeah, feels like they're basically admitting we're not capable of doing what Sony did, which is buy a bunch of small studios and have them make these really cool games for us that everyone wants to buy, that can be exclusive to our platform. So we're literally trying to buy success.
That's exactly it. And the fact that so many stories came out of Phil admitting it, like Phil literally saying, "Oh, we're in third place. Like we're I know Rachel, you're saying, like, oh, Xbox is going, oh, woe is me, we're so poor, we're the little guy in this."
Yeah.
Like, yes, but also they're not wrong, because they're
not,
bad at
no.
it. They are bad at it. Like when Bungie was its own independent thing, Halo was one of the biggest franchises in the world. And when they bought them, it slowly declined into what it is today. Like, Microsoft has been struggling to do exactly this, to keep up with Sony. And, like, yes, that's 100% their own fault. But do we really want to see a video games industry that's just Sony and Nintendo?
I mean, I don't. And I also love that the way they're bringing Nintendo into this is, like, you guys could, like, lean in. I know that Nintendo isn't there to represent themselves, so maybe they don't want to, like, bring Nintendo into it for that reason. But you really could lean into that a little bit more, like, you know. But the problem is Nintendo's, like, exclusives are all homegrown. Like, you know, you want to talk about, like, like good internal exclusives that they've cornered the market on. That's Nintendo's game. That's what Nintendo does. That's what they have done for decades now, and they're good at it. They're better at it than Xbox and PlayStation. So I feel that there's a good reason why Phil is trying to be like, well, you know, we're not Phil, but rather the FTC is trying to be like, well, Nintendo, they don't count. They're their own thing. And I'm like, they're literally doing it better than both of you. I feel like that's the sentiment that's coming across. Like, I feel like a lot of people hear them say that and they're like, oh, the FTC doesn't understand Nintendo. They're trying to dismiss Nintendo. No, they're literally saying Nintendo is just doing it better. Let's just like, let's leave them out of it, because clearly if it's Nintendo's in the game, neither of you can compete with them.
That is very true. And Nintendo's probably like, not my monkeys, not my circus. Like, my name's Bennett, and I ain't in it. Like, that has nothing to do with me.
I mean, that's why they can offer their games, like, they can offer like 10-year-old games at like full price still. They don't have to lower it. I mean, you could make the argument that that's anti-competitive, I think, but it's more a case of just like, this is a product I made myself and I'm the only place you can get it from. So
Yeah.
like, at that point, you just have to be like, yeah, I kind of get you there.
Yeah, because yes, the whole rub is somebody's losing something from these deals. Like that's what perks up the ears of the consumer. That's what gets the FTC to act. So in this case, is somebody losing something when Microsoft finishes this acquisition? Honestly, it seems like they're only losing the stuff that they don't know that they were going to get. Because that's what happened with Bethesda. Like, every stuff that wasn't announced yet, or stuff that hadn't been like a long-running franchise that existed elsewhere, Microsoft put on their own platform because they want to bolster it. They want to stay in the game. And to me, that makes business sense. Like, they paid all that money for the thing. If you're going to start making brand new stuff, put it on our console so we can have good exclusives too, like the other kids in the playground. But like, I get the trepidation at stuff like Diablo 4 or Overwatch or Call of Duty somehow being forced to be on a single platform. I think that would be bad. I think Microsoft knows that's bad. And Sony knows Microsoft knows that's bad. So this really is a play for the future, right? Like, Sony's like, we don't want Microsoft to eventually catch up to us in any shape or form. And that's still a non-known entity. Like, Microsoft has fumbled the ball with this exact same strategy already. Like, for years now, they've been trying, like, we've been waiting for them to basically show off all the profits of those big acquisitions. Like, they just keep doing more acquisitions without actually releasing any of the games for them, or the games that do release are Redfall and etc. So like, Sony might be getting like all into the mix for no real reason, because Microsoft may continue to fail at this. But I think it's just a possibility that, like, the thing we're all anticipating and excited for, Sony is dreading that Microsoft actually comes good on one of these deals, and now they have to do what? Because, like, honestly, what would Sony do differently? Buy more stuff? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, they've done that too. Like, they've made acquisitions themselves. So.
I will say one thing I think that it's important we mention is just that they also did say that sometimes Xbox has been kind of, it's a loaded term, but I'll say bullied into, like, they mentioned that Bobby Kotick demanded a higher revenue share, a more favorable revenue share to Activision Blizzard, or he wouldn't put their games on Xbox. So yeah, so basically they said that their low position in the market has been used against them as well. That was something that also caught my attention, because first of all, I absolutely believe Bobby did that.
Sounds like a Bobby move.
Sounds like a Bobby move. Do I bring back Grand Duchess Bobby Kotick for this? But yeah, it's a that's something they mentioned that has happened, and again, you could say that it's Microsoft kind of being like, well, you know, you're gonna do that to us, well, screw you, we'll buy you, so it takes away your ability to do that.
Right.
So, but you could also say that that's Microsoft saying, like, the deck is so stacked against us that we literally have companies saying, give us a higher revenue share, or, you know, it's worth or it's not worth anything to us to put our game on Xbox. So neither one is a very good look, but the latter is a slightly better look.
And Activision is an American company on top of that. So for them to go that far to, like, kind of bully and sideline another American company in the industry kind of tells you, like, when Sony and Nintendo, well, mostly Sony, can, you know, have ongoing deals with the tons and tons of Japanese companies, they have a really big footprint in Europe as well. So I'm sure they have all sorts of deals in the UK. And then prior to Microsoft buying Bethesda, they were doing it with other American companies. And of course, they had the Call of Duty thing. They had a special deal with them too. All the marketing and whatnot was tied to Sony.
Oh, sure.
So, like, yeah, like, from every single angle, they are kind of getting beat up here. Like what is a poor Microsoft company to do other than buy everything in the room?
Oh no! What am I gonna do with my $69 billion? Oh God!
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Just give me a bunch of Game Pass deals. That's fine. Just do what they do with all those Sega games and like the Yakuza games and the Persona games, and just put them on Game Pass. Put them anywhere you want, and I'll play them for free on Game Pass. Great.
No, just in Lampy in chat saying like, yeah, Bobby. That is exactly what Bobby Kotick is supposed to do. He is a businessman, and there's a reason he's still CEO of Activision, despite the number of like complaints levied against him. It's because he's a really darn good businessman. So when I say that's a Bobby move, it's not. I'm not necessarily saying that's Bobby Kotick being a scumbag. That's Bobby Kotick being a sharp businessman.
But those two
but
things
like you said, Casey, like the fact that he had the ability to leverage that against them, the ability to say, hey, split the revenue 80% in my favor, or I'm not going to release the game on Xbox. The fact that he had the leverage to say that, that's notable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially against another company. That's worth examining. Like, let's unpack that.
I mean, is there anything that we glided over here?
Do we want to talk about the cloud gaming part of it? Because
like
Marty,
the former
you're right,
Google Stadia.
Yeah.
I think it was what Sarah Bond said that was the least important or the smallest part of Game Pass Ultimate was cloud gaming. It's like the least popular part of Game Pass Ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is I still don't get cloud gaming. Like, I just don't. Like, maybe in like 10 years it'll be big, but like everything I've kind of played on cloud gaming runs like shit. And I just don't.
It's always run better than I thought it would, but like, it's definitely not a place where I want to spend any time.
Are you basically? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Casey. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Go ahead.
So for cloud gaming, is it basically like you're just streaming the game off the cloud?
Yes.
Essentially, I would hate to do that. Like, no, either let me download it to my console or give me an actual physical disc or a little card.
Yeah.
Like, now I'm good.
Yeah, I think their point is about like Xbox is trying to use cloud gaming as we're not keeping our games off platform because cloud gaming, that means if you have a phone, you could play our games wherever you want. And it's like, yeah, but they run like shit. Like, it's not it's not like Netflix yet where like I can watch anything on Netflix or Hulu and be like, it looks fine. It's running fine. Like I just don't feel like the gaming and the interactivity infrastructure is there yet.
Not ideal.
And maybe it will be in 10 years. I'm sure.
Like, have you bought one of those like little hook things that you put on your controller to then snap your phone
I do.
to the top of it?
A backbone. Yeah.
Rachel's about to bust it out.
I got one of them sitting here. I've used this maybe once.
Backbone. And I've also got, hold on, I got one more. God, this is the fun drawer. I got so much stuff in here. This is where I got my PS TV. And the Game Vice for the iPad.
Those things are just in the box though?
Well, like you said, I haven't used them very often. Well, to me, that's not because I don't want to. It's more just that I play games on every other device I own.
Sure.
So my phone is for funny cat videos.
Speaking of cats, look, Rachel.
Oh, hi, Kitty. Oh, Cat, I didn't tell you. I told Casey and Marty, I think, but I have a kitty now.
Oh, congratulations.
Welcome to the Cat Mom Club.
Yes.
More cats, the better.
Sorry. Quick break from legal proceedings.
This is not about y'all. This is about me and Rachel for that second. Yeah. Sorry.
No one else
his name is Clyde.
My cat's name is Sokka.
I like it.
Great cat names.
Both named after good characters. Yes.
Lovely.
Anyway,
does that wrap things up here, or is there any other burning FTC details?
Totally, it's court related, but it's not related to this. Mm-hmm. When I was in Walmart yesterday, I was walking past the because I wanted to buy. I like still buying stuff on Blu-ray. Don't judge me. I like buying stuff on YouTube. So don't judge me. I walked past and I meant to send it to you, Jesse and Marty. They had the whole old Night Court series on sale for like $40. So I was like, when I saw, but I just had to laugh. I've been wanting to say this the entire podcast because I just wanted to laugh when I saw what the subject was because I was like, I'll see you in Night Court. Every time I see it, I think of Marty when he goes, I'll see you in Night Court.
That's the best. That's the best court. Way better than Day Court.
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
The only thing I wanted to add is that they are there is a little bit of a focus here, and I'm kind of curious to know why the FTC is doing it, with talking about like Xbox or Microsoft releasing different versions of games that are exclusive, that are made by companies it owns to other platforms. Like I think they talked about how are you going to get Call of Duty running on the Switch? And Matt Booty had to say, well, we'd have to change the graphics. And so I think they're trying to establish, not necessarily that Microsoft could release, will straight up refuse to release Call of Duty on PlayStation, but I think they're trying to open the door a little bit to the suggestion that Microsoft could release lesser versions of Call of Duty to the other platform and to other platforms. And I also think that in the next few days, because I think court resumes on Tuesday, I think.
Yeah.
Which is good because I'm off on Monday, so I'm financially not obligated to care on Monday, so it's a good thing I don't have to. But yeah, so I think we're going to also hear a little bit more about Game Pass and the Game Pass strategy, because that's also because you mentioned the CMA, because I think the CMA case is based a little bit more on Game Pass, because I mean they say cloud gaming, but I think they also mean Game Pass. So I think that's going to come up in the next few days as well. That's my prediction for the next few days of the court.
And for me, I guess my last thought on this is, and I don't really know that much about corporate law, and I'm not really familiar with the Federal Trade Commission outside of like the basics, but I kind of feel like this specific, I guess, item that consumers are, the whole video game, that is and I could be totally wrong and be looking at this the wrong way, but from a consumer standpoint, I kind of feel like this is not a necessity, something that is a life or death, a product that people need to survive, or a product that people need for their everyday life, right? So I kind of feel like if Microsoft decides to, and they end up buying, going through with their deal and paying for this, are they really doing something wrong? Because at that point, it's up to the consumer. Well, this is only available on Microsoft, so is it something that I'm going to buy? Like, I don't feel like the company should be penalized for, if I'm making any sense. I'm sorry, sometimes my thoughts are a little jumbled, but it's like, this is not a product or something that is essential to life. It's a hobby. So if Microsoft is going, same thing, we could say the same thing for Sony. If Sony decides to keep things exclusively on Sony, if I'm a Xbox consumer, well, either I buy a PlayStation or I don't. Like, that's just my mindset. Like, this isn't something that's a life or death situation. It's not. But then again, at the end of the day, it really is, like you said, about money. And I understand the whole having a healthy competitive market. I get that. I do. But I just kind of feel like,
no, I get what you mean.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it just,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like maybe their time and energy could be better spent regulating something a little more
medicine and insulin.
Yeah, maybe stuff like that.
things.
Sure.
Yeah.
But on the reverse side, I do think it's good that that level of intervention extends to things like hobbies. Because like it is stuff that consumers, the people, like spend money on, and it would really suck if like all the things that you like to do that were just for fun and not for you to live your life were like wildly expensive and out of control in terms of monopolies and whatnot. So like, I can appreciate that there's still some oversight to that sort of thing.
Yeah. Also, make the gas prices go down.
Or just switch everything to electric. Why are we still using gas?
Marty.
Could you, federal government, could you actually be on my side for once, please?
Yes, please.
Frost says, let's stream the hearings like the Depp trial.
I wish we could. That'd be hilarious.
Are they not being streamed?
I've not seen.
I've only been following like IGN's reporting and like
on
there's people
Twitter.
like
Apparently there's a Zoom call somewhere. But like,
fun.
I tried to log into it and it was like, it asked me for like my name and email. I was like, I don't want to give this right now.
I'm anonymous.
I've learned not to do paper trail. I've learned one thing for this trial. So next week it sounds like they said like three of the big again, witnesses for lack of a better term. Jim Ryan, head of PlayStation, Satya Nadella, just head of Microsoft in general, and then Bobby Kotick, renowned businessman / bad person.
Jim Ryan isn't even going to be there. He's going to have a pre-recorded video. And I'm like, Jim, just say this isn't worth your time, and we can end this farce right now.
Who's the guy? Who's the
wild
actor
he's
they
allowed
used
do
to have in the PlayStation commercials? Remember that guy?
Yes.
There was like, they should put that guy. He wasn't a real
he was a
businessman, but they
fake
should put him.
executive.
Yeah, the fake executive. They should put him on there, and they should put Master Chief on trial.
Like, what is it? Family Guy when they need like, who are we going to send to Washington? That guy.
Exactly. See, better.
All right, so I think that wraps it up. Great show, much enjoyed. Let's go ahead and sign off. Rachel, what do you have coming up that folks can check out?
So we are, now that I'm done with all the summer game stuff and I'm healthy again, we're back with Golden Girls and we're back with Perry Mason tomorrow. So I know y'all have been waiting with bated breath for that. And I gotta also admit, I am trying to like get some other like stuff on my personal blog down, and I've got some reviews coming on GamesBeat. They're a little bit belated, but some of them are a little bit late, but I blame that on, again, all the other stuff that's been going on. And we've got a special issue coming out in a few days that I worked very hard on, so I hope you guys will take a look. And I'm also still working on trying to get the PSTV to work, so potentially Jesse and Casey and I can have a God of War reunion, which would be great, because I was actually like, I was actually thinking about you guys the other day, because I had this long, like, hyper-focused rant about, like, the historicity of the Amazons, by the way, who were not Greek, by the way. That's a common misconception. The Amazons were not Greek women.
Okay, I need to hear more, but I feel like this isn't the place.
They were Turkish. Or possibly Ukrainian.
Huh.
Now I've hooked you. Now we'll follow up on that thread later.
More.
We'll follow up on that later. But yeah, that's it for me. So you can find all my stuff on my Twitter, which is, am I like overhead somewhere? My name's around here somewhere, but all of that goes through my Twitter. So if you want to see what I'm up to, just follow me on Twitter.
Nice. Marty, what do you have coming up? Where can folks find you?
Yeah, you can find me on my personal channel at McBiggity, which is the name above me. I might be streaming later tonight. I'm gonna see how I feel after, because we're doing a stream with the top tier patrons. That'll be at 2 p.m. Central. If you're one of those, you're probably in that Discord and you already know about it. So tune in there. I think Jesse's gonna be hanging out. I think Frost will be there for an hour. I think Jamate's gonna be there. So yeah, have Rocket League downloaded, and we're gonna jam on that.
Nice. Yokina Cat, where can folks find you? What are you up to?
Same old, same old. You know me. I'll be in the open party Discord.
It's a good place
Or
to be.
I did stream like I want to say like a week ago, and it actually went really well. It's just I don't have a really conducive like streaming setup right now. I don't have everything that I need, so I haven't really been streaming. And then plus along with I was sick for a little bit, and then with work, I just don't really have time for it right now, but I really want to get back into it. But you can catch me in the Open Party Discord, or you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram. It's the same as I don't know if it's
Yeah, it's like, yep.
right there. Like that. Okay.
I've lost it now.
It's the same. My handle is the same across all social media platforms. So you can just catch me there. I post Apex Legends clips, and I was slacking real hard on Apex this season because I made platinum last season, and I have barely even made it out of bronze this season. So but you can just find me on there, and then you'll catch me in the Discord.
Nice. As for me, you can find me at Sigma Gears 9 on Twitch and Twitter. Labby says Casey doesn't like us. No, I'm missing the community thing, because every single Sunday, for the most part, is Super Smash Sunday. And you guys, like, that time period where you guys are going to be streaming is like dead smack in the middle of our 3-hour Smash window.
Why don't you guys like Casey?
Yeah, like, why don't you guys
that's a good question.
just show up Super Smash Sunday, boom, community night, done.
And 10 birds with one stone. Everyone can get their ass
I can finally get paid for the stuff I do on Sundays.
There you go.
Outside of that, should be a new 3MR dropping tomorrow, maybe, or at least some point in the week. I know Embargo is tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. Kingdom 80s is the name of the game. Little really cool looking management sim. There's also some stuff I wrote about Steam Neckfest demo for Unguard, as well as Trash Bandits. I believe went up today, or should be going up today. Check that out. And if there's anything else, I can't think of it right now. But just follow. Oh, also, if you didn't know already, this show is now exclusively on Twitch because of Twitch's new rules to kind of limit.
Yeah, that was insane. Like you're not allowed to stream to like multiple.
Yeah, like they cut out the. It's bad.
But why
It's bad.
is that?
Because they're
Why
a-holes.
is that?
You know why it is? Because every time I would start to watch something on Twitch that I wasn't subscribed to, I would get ads like at almost the worst times. Like it would just a block of 3 ads are playing in the middle of someone answering a question I really wanted to know the answer to. And so I log off of Twitch and I go to YouTube because they were also streaming on YouTube. And I pay for YouTube Premium. So that's why.
Yeah.
That's why. But
we need to take Amazon
FTC
FTCs to come to Twitch.
They do.
Bring them to court.
Put them on the chopping block.
They really do. Like for sure. They seriously do.
They probably will at some point soon.
But that's all I can think of in terms of like housekeeping. Thanks everybody for joining us. This was fun as usual.
Yeah.
Next week, there's a chance I may not be able to do a show next week for personal reasons. More on that at some point. I'll write an announcement somewhere in some place. But I may still have a show. So just be on the lookout. I'll give some more information about next week in general. But take care, everybody. That does it for the show. This has been episode 107.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.